Hello and welcome. Today's video is both about a cornet and also has nothing to do with a cornet at all. And the cornet that this video both is and isn't about is this here. This is a Jupiter JCR 526R, and whilst this video is about this cornet, the bit where this video is not about this cornet is because of what the person who sent this to me has developed on this specific instrument. See, if this instrument was not something I purchased, it was something that was sent to me by a man in the Netherlands whose name is Max. Full name is on the screen here. Max van Vugt. I can't pronounce whatever that, however that's supposed to be pronounced, I can't pronounce it. And he has developed what he calls his VarioMax Tuning System. And effectively this is something special that he has developed to help him play the sort of music that he was interested in. See, Max grew up listening to music of the roaring 20s and 30s, people like old Satchmo and things like that, and he didn't have the music to play. He would listen to the sounds and try to replicate those sounds. What he found though is that playing just a B-flat instrument, sometimes you would come across sounds that were very hard to articulate on a B-flat instrument. And so he wanted a system that would enable him to switch to the key of A, but also have various alternate fingerings available to him. And so he has developed the VarioMax variable tuning system, which is installed on this cornet. Now, to give you a better idea of what this thing does, I'm not going to show it up and point to it. I'm going to take you over to the bench and we're going to have a look at it in a bit more detail. The most important piece is a rod that runs throughout the length of the instrument inside here. That rod gives us the ability and sort of functions as a common rail to be able to bind the various tuning slides to each other. In addition to the rod, we've got a couple of stops. We've got this one here, and this is essentially just a little piece that will screw to the rod and keep it from moving. This is attached by a chain, so you don't lose it anywhere. But we can simply put the thread this onto the rod and screw that in place, and it will be used as part of the function. We've got one at that end, and we've also got one over at this end here. In addition to those rods, we also have a number of other screws that we can use to bind the various tuning slides to that rod. We've got this one here on the main tuning slide. This enables us to either bind or unbind the main tuning slide to this rod. And also over here on the third valve, tuning slide, we've got this screw which enables us to bind and unbind the third valve tuning slide to this common rod. In addition to those mechanisms, we've also got this spring here, which is designed to return the third valve tuning slide to its home position. It does it not particularly brilliantly because of the length of the spring and how this has been implemented on this particular model, but it is still quite a useful feature. When it comes to using this system, what we need to first work out is what we want to do. We have the option of binding various tuning slides together. For instance, we could bind the first valve tuning slide to the main tuning slide of the instrument. And so to do that, we would put this screw over here. And so that has now attached the first valve tuning slide to the rod, and then we would bind the main tuning slide in it too. So then what happens when we move the first tuning slide, the main tuning slide is going to come with it. Now normally this thumb settle would be operated by the thumb of the left hand, so we've got the ability to do that and articulate both tuning slides together. In addition to that, we could also have the third tuning slide extended slightly, and we could have now all three tuning slides bound to each other and working as one. I don't know any situation in which you would want the third valve tuning slide extended and then brought in by this, but it is an example of one of the options that you can do. In addition to that, we could unbind the first valve tuning slide like that, leaving just the main tuning slide and the third valve tuning slide bound together. What we would do when we have this configuration is the ability to move the third valve tuning slide and have the main tuning slide coming with it. Again, I can't really think of any situation in which you would want to do this, but you've got that flexibility to do it. The use case that I think I would find myself using most frequently is to have the first and main tuning slides bound together, so that when you move the first valve tuning slide by the way of the thumb saddle here, the main tuning slide comes with it. This gives you the opportunity to have the main tuning slide adjustable even when you're not actually using the first valve, which is something that you only really find on Besson Prestige level cornets, which instead of having a thumb saddle here will have a trigger that articulates the main tuning slide in and out. Over on the third valve side, I'd leave this screw unbound, which means the third valve tuning slide sort of floats along this rail. But with this screw here, that gives us a retention for this, so we can prevent the rail from coming out of this holder and prevent the main tuning slide from moving too far. So that's the setup that I would personally use as a sort of classical style musician. But with this system, you've got the option to use this arrangement and this sort of mechanical approach to tuning however you want. So whether this system is or isn't the best way of approaching the particular problem that Max has got, I can still find a number of ways where this would be useful to me. The ability of being able to bind the main tuning slide to the first valve tuning slide and have both moving together is something that I think is quite useful, because that means you can use the first valve tuning slide and the thumb saddle that we've got here to modify the tuning of other notes that are naturally out of tune due to just the way that physics works with brass instruments, without having to have the first valve pressed down or using alternates. So I think that that characteristic of this instrument is something that would be very, very useful. It does need to be noted that, however, that there is a lot more stuff to go wrong on something like this. It does need a fair amount of maintenance to keep it in optimal condition, and then also a fair amount of modification to your instrument to begin with. But it is the sort of thing that I think would be really useful for a number of different musicians. So whether or not you know of somebody who would find something like this useful is up to the individual requirements of a player. But this certainly does give you the best of pretty much every world that you're going to come across and might need, whether you're a musician who plays music or plays by ear. So this has been an overview of the VarioMax tuning solution. Thanks very much, Max, for sending this instrument in to me to have a bit of a play with. I hope this video has done your ingenuity and your skills justice, and thanks to everyone for watching.